The afternoon sun beats down on the tin roofs of Middle Post Settlement, a poverty-stricken corner of Sanaa Bay, South Africa. It's February 19th, 2024, and the clock has just struck 2 p.m. A little girl with striking green eyes walks hand in hand with her mother toward a white car idling at the corner. Her small black cooler bag carries just a few belongings. 6-year-old Joshlin Smith doesn't know it yet, but she's walking toward her own disappearance. The white car pulls away, dust rising in its wake. And just like that, Joshlin is gone. Hours pass before anyone raises the alarm. When they do, Middle Post erupts into frantic action. Drones buzz overhead, search dogs strain at their leashes, police officers comb the scrubland, and neighbors call out Joshlin's name into the gathering darkness. Everyone is looking. Everyone except one person. Kelly Smith sleeps soundly that night. No tears stain her pillow. No panic widens her eyes. While an entire community lies awake, consumed by worry for her daughter, Kelly rests easily, a strange calm surrounding her like a cloak. She wasn't acting right, whispers a neighbor, watching Kelly from across the dusty street the next morning. What kind of mother sleeps when her child is missing? The question hangs in the air, unanswered but unsettling. And it's just the first of many red flags that will appear in the days to come. When Joshlin's teacher approaches Kelly during the search, the conversation takes an odd turn. Kelly speaks of a Nigerian man who told her Joshlin was on a ship, trapped inside a container headed to West Africa. Then, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, she adds, "Remember, Buha is innocent." The words chill the teacher's blood. Why would Kelly need to defend her boyfriend's innocence if no one had accused him of anything? What does she know that others don't? As the search for Joshlin intensifies, a local pastor steps forward with disturbing information. A year before Joshlin vanished, Kelly had spoken casually about selling her children. 20,000 rand each, about $1,000, though she was willing to negotiate down to as little as $275. At the time, people dismissed it as dark humor or the ramblings of a troubled mind. Now, with Joshlin missing, those words take on a sinister new meaning. 2 weeks after Joshlin's disappearance, with no trace of the little girl found, police make their move. They bring in Kelly, her boyfriend Buha Jasanopoulos, his friend Stefano Venrin, and Kelly's neighbor Laurentia Renz Lombard for questioning. The truth, when it finally emerges, is more heartbreaking than anyone could have imagined. The day before Joshlin disappeared, Kelly Smith made a decision that would shatter multiple lives. In the cramped confines of her home, she confided in her friend Renz Lombard, a confession so disturbing that Renz would later recount it with trembling hands and a quavering voice. "I sold her," Kelly had said flatly, as if discussing the transaction of an object rather than her flesh and blood. 20,000 rand. The Sangoma wants her for her green eyes and light skin. Renz had stared at her friend, unable to process the words. A Sangoma, a traditional healer, wanted Joshlin for her features? It seemed too horrific to be real. But Kelly's expression remained unchanged, practical, determined. "The money," Kelly continued, explaining her motivation with chilling simplicity. 20,000 rand, approximately $1,000, would solve immediate problems. In a community where poverty crushes dreams daily, Kelly had found her way out, a solution that required only the sacrifice of her 6-year-old daughter. The next day unfolded according to Kelly's plan. At 2 p.m., right on schedule, Kelly instructed Buha to have Joshlin ready. A few clothes were packed into a black cooler bag, not enough for a long trip, just enough to maintain the pretense of normality. Renz watched from her doorway as Kelly led her daughter to the waiting white car, the same vehicle Kelly had spoken with the previous day. Joshlin, trusting and unaware, climbed in beside her mother. The car pulled away, taking with it a child who would soon become the center of South Africa's most heartbreaking missing person case. But Kelly wasn't finished. She knew that silence must be bought, just as her daughter had been sold. She offered Renz 5,000 rand to keep quiet about what she had witnessed. Stefano was promised 7,200 rand for his compliance. Money to ensure their cooperation, to seal their lips as tightly as the fate now befalling little Joshlin. When police began their investigation, all three, Kelly, Buha, and Stefano, maintained their innocence. They knew nothing, they claimed. Joshlin had simply vanished while playing outside. A story they had rehearsed, a fiction they hoped would hold. But deception requires perfect coordination, and their story soon began to unravel. Kelly claimed she was working the day Joshlin disappeared, cleaning a house in town. Yet when investigators spoke to her supposed employer, they discovered Kelly never showed up that day. Her alibi collapsed, taking with it the fragile scaffolding of lies they had constructed. As pressure mounted, Kelly's promise of payment to her co-conspirators remained unfulfilled. No money changed hands. And when arrests finally came, loyalty proved as transactional as the sale of a child. Renz Lombard was the first to break, cutting a deal with prosecutors in exchange for her testimony. The betrayal of a daughter had led to a cascade of betrayals, each person looking to save themselves as the truth threatened to emerge, each willing to sacrifice another to avoid punishment. A new name enters the story: Puma Sagaka, known in the community as Baka Lima. According to testimony, she is the Sangoma who purchased Joshlin, a married mother of 3 living mere steps away from Kelly's home. The proximity is jarring. The predator had been a neighbor all along. When police arrest Sagaka, the community breathes a collective sigh of relief. Perhaps now Joshlin will be found. Perhaps this nightmare will end. But the case takes another unexpected turn when charges against Sagaka are dropped due to lack of evidence linking her to Joshlin's disappearance. Sagaka insists on her innocence. The last time she saw Joshlin, she claims, was the day the girl vanished, walking past with her mother. Later that same day, Kelly knocked on her door, asking if she'd seen her daughter. A performance, prosecutors believe, designed to establish Kelly's concerned mother alibi, while keeping Sagaka's involvement obscured. With Sagaka walking free, the focus returns to Kelly, Buha, and Stefano. But Kelly refuses to accept responsibility. Instead, she crafts a counter-narrative, pointing the finger directly at Renz Lombard and Ren's boyfriend. They are the ones behind Joshlin's disappearance, she insists, a desperate attempt to deflect blame that convinces no one. In her police statement, Kelly paints a picture of a normal day gone wrong. She woke at 7 a.m., dressed Joshlin and her brother, fed them breakfast, and told them they wouldn't be attending school because their uniforms needed washing. By 8:15, she had dropped her youngest daughter at daycare and headed to work. But the day took a darker turn when Kelly borrowed money from her employer to buy crystal meth, locally known as tick. She and Buha smoked the drug. Then Kelly claimed she returned to work, later collected her son from his grandmother, picked up her youngest from daycare, and arrived home by 4:45 p.m. Only then, she says, did she notice Joshlin was missing. According to Kelly, she asked Buha about Joshlin's whereabouts, and he assured her the girl was around. The evening continued with Stefano's arrival, more drug use, and finally, by 7 p.m., 5 hours after Joshlin was allegedly last seen, Kelly began searching. By 9 p.m., she called the police. But her employer's statement contradicts this timeline entirely. Kelly never showed up for work that day. The carefully constructed alibi crumbles, leaving only the terrible truth exposed. A mother had sold her child. The case progresses to trial in March 2025, with the community watching closely, demanding justice for a little girl with green eyes who trusted the one person who should have protected her above all others. The courtroom falls silent as the trial begins. The absence of physical evidence looms large. No body, no crime scene, no forensic trail to follow. The case against Kelly, Buha, and Stefano rests almost entirely on one person's testimony, Renz Lombard. Renz takes the stand, her voice steady but hands trembling. She recounts what she witnessed: the conversation about selling Joshlin, the white car, the black cooler bag with a few clothes hastily packed, the promises of payment for silence. She names names without hesitation: Kelly, Buha, Stefano, all involved from the beginning, all complicit in the disappearance of a 6-year-old girl. The defense attempts to discredit her. They highlight the inconsistencies in her statements, the changes in her story as the investigation progressed. They question her motives. Isn't she testifying only to save herself? Isn't her immunity deal the real reason she's pointing fingers? 2 police officers testify about their investigation into the Sangoma angle. Despite exhaustive efforts, they found no concrete evidence that Joshlin was sold for body parts or traditional medicine. But someone has the child, they admit. They just don't know who. Throughout the proceedings, Kelly, Buha, and Stefano maintain their silence. They offer no testimony, no explanation, no information about Joshlin's whereabouts or condition. Their silence speaks volumes to the gallery filled with community members who have spent sleepless nights searching for a child none of them parented, but all of them cared for. For 2 months, the trial captures South Africa's attention. A nation watches as the horrific details emerge: poverty, drug addiction, desperation, and unthinkable betrayal. A mother who valued money over her daughter's life. A boyfriend who facilitated the unimaginable. A friend who chose complicity over intervention. Finally, the judge is ready to deliver the verdict. The courtroom falls silent as he speaks, methodically addressing each charge, each defendant, each piece of evidence. Though Renz Lombard wasn't a perfect witness, he says, her testimony was credible where it mattered most. Kelly Smith, Bohajassanopoulos, Stefano Venrin, on the charges of kidnapping and human trafficking, this court finds you guilty. The words hang in the air for a moment before the gallery erupts in applause. Justice, at least a measure of it, has been served. Kelly collapses in tears, the gravity of her actions and their consequences finally, perhaps, sinking in. But even as the verdict brings a sense of resolution, the most important question remains unanswered. Where is Joshlin Smith? The sentencing hearing approaches, carrying with it a final hope that one of the three convicted might break their silence, might offer information in exchange for leniency, might finally reveal what happened to Joshlin Smith after she climbed into that white car on February 19th. They face the possibility of life imprisonment, the maximum sentence for human trafficking under South African law. The stakes couldn't be higher. If ever there was a moment to cooperate, to show remorse, to provide answers, this is it. Middle Post settlement waits, a community forever changed by the betrayal that occurred in their midst. Children play under watchful eyes that never wander, never blink. Parents hold their little ones closer, whisper extra, I love yous before bedtime. Teachers call roll with heightened attention, noting every absence with new anxiety. In Cape Town, investigators continue their work, following every lead, checking every tip, searching for a little girl with green eyes and light skin who has been missing for over a year. They investigate ships that left port around the time of Joshlin's disappearance, examine records of border crossings, interview potential witnesses who might have seen something significant but didn't realize it at the time. International agencies join the search, expanding the radius of possibility. If Joshlin was trafficked across borders, as some testimony suggested, she could be anywhere, West Africa, Europe, beyond. The case that began in a poverty-stricken settlement now spans continents. Posters bearing Joshlin's face, her striking green eyes, her light skin, her innocent smile, hang in police stations around the world. Age progression images show what she might look like now, how she might have changed in the months since her disappearance. Somewhere, someone might recognize her. Somewhere, there might be answers. Kelly Smith sits in her cell, facing the consequences of her actions. Does she know where her daughter is? Does she lie awake at night, haunted by the memory of Joshlin's trusting hand in hers as they walked to that white car? Does she regret the choice she made, or just the fact that she was caught? Outside the prison walls, children Joshlin's age are starting a new school year. They're learning to read more complex stories, to solve more difficult math problems, to understand more about the world around them. Is Joshlin among them somewhere, perhaps with a new name, a new identity, a new life? Or did her story end on February 19th, 2024, in ways too terrible to contemplate? The courtroom that witnessed the verdict will soon hear the sentences. The judge who declared the three guilty will decide their punishment. But no prison term, however long, can undo what was done. No justice, however complete, can return Joshlin to the life she should have had. In the end, this isn't just the story of a crime and its punishment. It's the story of a betrayal so fundamental it defies understanding, a mother who sold her child. It's the story of a system that failed to protect a vulnerable girl, of a community forced to confront the darkness in their midst, of a world where children become commodities with price tags attached. And most of all, it's the story of Joshlin Smith, a little girl with green eyes and light skin, who disappeared one February afternoon. A child who, despite everything, deserves to be remembered as more than a victim. A child who somewhere might still be waiting to be found. The search continues. The questions remain. The hope, though fading, persists. Where is Joshlin Smith? Only 3 people might know the answer, and they're not talking. Not yet. Perhaps not ever. But someone somewhere knows the truth. And until that truth is revealed, Joshlin's story remains unfinished. A missing child, a shattered community, and a nation waiting for answers that may never come.